Good evening. My name's Conklin McLeod with your local news. Tonight, business owners see an uptick after reports of increased mice activity in the New England and Northwest. Police frustrated over illegal motorcycle activity across the mid-north coast and the weekend road blitz across the northern rivers. But first tonight, business owners are seeing an uptick in the number of people buying mouse baits after reports of increased mice activity in the New England Northwest. It follows a warning from the Environmental Protection Authority to ensure locals are baiting safely.
There's plenty on shelves now, but with rodent numbers on the rise, mice baits may soon be a hot commodity. Business owners like Robert Collins preparing for another rush, frantically purchasing more stock.
I would expect an increase in probably of around somewhere in the vicinity of 15 to 20%.
He says picking the best bait depends on a number of factors.
We've got specialised baits that you can buy so that if a dog or a cat eats the dead animal, it doesn't affect the dog or a cat. We've also got wax blocks and soft blocks.
And suggest locals set up baits all year round.
Just check your bait stations all the time, make sure that they're stocked. As I say, select the correct bait is the most important thing, but you always have something there for them because you've never only got one mouse.
The New South Wales EPA has put out a warning to all those using the baits to ensure they follow instructions to the letter.
We can keep our community safe from mice, and we can use the pesticides safely without impacting on the broader environment.
Northwest residents are also being encouraged to download the CSIRO's Mouse Alert app to report any activity they see.
And that way, everyone can take the steps they need to protect themselves.
Jessica Warboys, NBN News.
An 89-year-old woman has told NBN News of the moment she says she chased off an intruder who broke into her northwest home. Police have since arrested a man who today faced court, and a warning to our viewers that some of the issues are extremely distressing.
It was a frightening early morning wake-up for this 89-year-old. A man breaking into Margaret Driscoll's West Tamworth home just after 6 a.m. on Monday while she was asleep in her bedroom. The widow waking to find him standing just metres away.
I just woke and this man was standing at the foot of the bed. To see him standing there, I thought, oh, that was a fright.
89-year-old Margaret chased the man out of her home before calling 000.
I chased him out here as far as the back door, and I didn't go any further. And he ran off down the road. I just went to the window there and I could see he kept running down the road.
She was just surprised she'd managed to scare the intruder off and escape uninjured.
I can't get over it myself why I wasn't more frightened of him turning and hitting me or something, but no, he didn't try any of that, lovey. I was just a lucky one, I suppose.
Margaret is now missing a lawnmower.
Must have wheeled the mower off because it's not here.
Police quickly arrived on scene and searched the area. Hours later, they arrested a man on nearby Sioux Crescent. He was taken to Tamworth Police Station and charged with aggravated break and enter with intent. Today, 23-year-old Richard Cutmore faced court, the magistrate denying him bail, finding he posed an unacceptable risk to the community. He was ordered to undergo a mental health assessment and the case will return to court in July. Nikita Jager, NBN News.
Still ahead in the news, Manning Great Lakes police on the mid-north coast furious over illegal use of motorcycles. Manning Great Lakes Police are cracking down on illegal motorcycle activity across the mid-north coast. It follows an increase in reports of unlicensed and unregistered riders in public roads in Taree, Foster and rural areas, but police say it's an issue across the state. Meanwhile, Chief Inspector Rod Blackmore said that it's very frustrating for us, and also they are somewhat restricted in what they can and can't do in relation to their activities, but they are focused and committed to stopping this problem. Police are also investigating damage to the Taree recreation grounds, with officers expected to lay more charges soon. It's an Aussie animal under serious threat, but there's been a step forward in protecting koalas on the mid-north coast. The state government has purchased prime land near Taree, but a national advocacy group believes more can be done.
Saving a national icon one tree at a time. The New South Wales government has now secured more than 200 hectares of prime koala habitat north of Taree.
It's got tallow wood, it's got Sydney bluegum, two of the favoured species for koalas.
The private property near Killabark Nature Reserve is home to one of the largest densities of koalas in the state.
It was considered high-value koala habitat, so we were able to use the funding through the New South Wales Koala Strategy to purchase the land.
Part of a long-term strategy to double the population in New South Wales by 2050. The state government is also planning to extend national parks in Monaro and Yamba. But according to National Parks and Wildlife, there's more to conservation than just saving trees.
Research into the best ways of managing koalas, the best way of fire management, of pest management.
Since 2019, the state government has secured 600,000 hectares to grow national park estates, a move well backed by the Australian Conservation Foundation. While it says the latest move is a step in the right direction, some say more can be done to help the threatened species.
We need governments across all levels to get to the crux of the problem, and that's large-scale industrial-sized agriculture and the logging industry.
Rob Douglas, NBN News.
It has nearly been 3 months since the devastating floods hit the northern rivers, and still tonight many families can't return home. A makeshift community donation hub in Chindawa is servicing hundreds of flood-affected residents, but volunteers fear there are many more still in need.
11 weeks on, and these women are still assessing the damage. They're among thousands who lost everything in February's floods.
We're just in limbo, and we're just living from day to day, basically.
Volunteers say there's a lot more people in the Tweed who have fallen through the cracks.
We haven't seen the last of it. We haven't seen the end of it. It's probably just the beginning.
Thelma Murphy's home was decimated. There's still no walls or floors.
I've got nothing at the moment, and mental health-wise, it's just devastating.
She has secured temporary accommodation for 12 months, but the challenge now is trying to get back to her permanent home.
At the moment, we're just still. We can't get the grants through, and we can't get tradesmen, and it's just so difficult. We're just in limbo.
This makeshift volunteer centre, one of 3 donation hubs in the Tweed Shire, supporting flood victims.
I don't think people realise that 11 weeks on, people are still struggling because there is no coverage anymore. You know, the event's happened, it's gone, it's over and done with. Everybody thinks everything's okay, but it's not.
You've just got to be thankful for all the generosity that the people of Chindra and all the helpers did for us. I thank God for them, I really do. I really do thank God for them. I'm crying.
Now Anglicare is coming on board to assist the volunteers. It's welcome, but not a permanent solution.
We're here for the long haul. This is not something that's a temporary fix. We need to be here, for at least 12 months. We need something, a proper facility.
Gracie Richter, NBN News.
More than 100 drivers were caught under the influence of drugs or alcohol this weekend by North Coast Police Far North Coast Traffic Sector Chief Inspector David Vandergrind says it's part of a weekend-long crackdown to reduce crashes on local roads.
Resulted in some significant results of 71 drink drivers and also another 40 positive drug tests that were obtained from over 6,000 breath tests that were conducted.
129 officers from across the state set up on the M1 motorway from Ballina to Queensland ahead of Road Safety Week. In round 6 of the Group 4 Rugby League, Dungawin had a win over North Tamworth, while the Katingal Mumbai Roosters had a win over West Creek. The Moree Boars had a win over the Gunnedah Bulldogs. Meanwhile, in the other clash, Narrabri secured a win over the struggling Manila Tigers. In round 3 of the Group 19 Rugby League, Armidale took down Uralla Walker 28 points to 18, while Narwin took down the Warialda Wombats. And of course, the Inverell Hawks and the Moree Boomerangs were forced to share the points at 32 to all. Glen Innes product Alex Newsom is gearing up for the Waratahs match against the Highlanders this weekend. As the Super Rugby season wraps up, Newsom wants to keep spirits high so the side can move back up the ladder.
Suffering a loss against the Hurricanes on Saturday, the Tars are working on their strategy ahead of the Highlanders game.
There were some moments in the second half on the weekend where we made errors that were probably unforced, switched off at times. So first thing will be sorting our own backyard. I guess just trying to nullify their threats, kick really well.
With energetic Newsom on side, a win is within reach. The local product has played every minute of both this season and last season, but he remains humble.
I don't know, I guess playing a back three helps, probably not as in the firing line as some of the other players on the field.
And a little rest goes a long way.
They gave us Monday off, so ducked down to Bondi with a couple of loads and get some sunshine, mate. So it usually works pretty good to freshen up for training and refocus for what's going to be really important.
Talks have been ongoing for the back rower to move into centres, something he's open to.
Oh yeah, I don't mind. I'll play wherever the team needs me. There's a few options there. Obviously you got Jamie Roberts, who's super experienced, and Larkin shift the out one.
Now sitting at 6th on the ladder, and with the season wrapping up, Newsom says the Tars will stop at nothing to make the finals.
Momentum's so important. We don't want to put the foot off the throat towards the end of the season and then go into the finals out of form. So we want to keep the ball rolling, and hopefully we can do that this weekend.
The match kicks off at 1:35 p.m. Jessica Warboys, NBN News.
Still in rugby union and in the New England competition, St Albert's were too strong for the Armidale Blues, while the match between Robb College and the Barbarians was called off. Meanwhile, in the second grade, the Armidale Blues and the St Albert's College drew 24-all, while the Tamworth Pirates defeated the Glen Innes Elks 50 points to 14. Meanwhile, in third grade, St Albert's College defeated Armidale 50 points to 5, while Robb's College had their match against the Barbarians washed away. And so too did Tenterfield against St Albert's. Meanwhile, in the women's one, St Albert's secured a win over Armidale, and Tamworth had a win over Glen Innes. To Group 2 Rugby League on the Mid-North Coast, and of course wet weather played a lot of havoc. Meanwhile, South Grafton's clash against Wagulga was called off. So too was Sawtell's clash with Maxville. But thankfully, the clashes against Nambucca Heads and Urara Valley and Coffs Harbour and Grafton went through, as the Urara Valley Axemen secured a 56-0 win over the Nambucca Heads Roosters. And also the Grafton Ghosts secured a 30-18 win over the Coffs Harbour Comets. There were no games in round 2 of the Group 3 Rugby League season as well. And also all the matches between Port Macquarie and Foster Tuncurry, Albar, as well as Port City, Wauchope and Wingham, as well as Taree City and Macleay Valley were all cancelled because of the wet weather. There's ongoing frustrations for Group 3, who are still feeling the brunt of the wet weather. The clubs will meet next week to decide what will happen to last weekend's washed-out game, questioning whether they can afford to extend the season once again.
It's an all too familiar and frustrating sight. Rain continuing to disrupt the Group 3 season.
Should have had 3 weeks of footy and we've only played 2 games.
Last weekend's round washed out due to the wet weather. A general meeting will now be held for next week to determine how the clubs will make up for the cancellation.
Whether we can it all together or extend the season out a little bit further.
If an extra week's added to the competition, it would be the second extension after the opening round on May 7 and 8 were called off.
I think we've got a bit of room there. We could push back another week.
The grand final moved to September 17. The Macleay Valley Mustangs hoping it's ruled in fairness.
If they can't come to a conclusion where there's a washout round and whatever, or we can't get games played or do a catch-up round, my best option just to split the points, just go 1 point each and just move forward.
Coaches are adamant a loss of points can make or break a club's season.
People do go out to win, and 2 points is a lot of points, and it could determine your season.
Council's decisions to close the grounds, a frustration felt by all.
Yeah, it's not just the seniors. It's junior footy too that's not being played. We want the kids out there playing sport, don't we?
At the end of the day, grass grows. Grass does grow, so you're going to rip up your grass. It's going to grow back. So, let's just play footy.
The rain is forecast to make its return by the weekend. Teams hoping councils between the Mid-North Coast, Kempsey Shire and Port Macquarie Hastings keep the parks open.
To be honest, I can't cope for another washed-out game. I cannot. Not 2 weeks straight.
Gemma Pepper, NBN News.
To the lower Mid-North Coast Rugby Union, of course, the Manning River Rats were too strong for the Foster Tuncurry Dolphins, 24 points to 14. "18 months ago, Ella Jones moved to the Northern Rivers, chasing a dream. And now the 21-year-old has qualified for the Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games. Her coach says it's now the real work begins."
Moving 8 hours away from her home in Penrith, Ella Jones was ready for the next challenge.
It's been a step up, different training styles. Different training styles for me. I was privately trained by myself for 5 years. That was different training with a squad.
The 21-year-old para-athlete previously only swam freestyle, but in a year and a half, she's managed to land a place on the Australian Dolphins team and will get on a flight to Birmingham in July, qualifying for 2 events, strokes she's only been perfecting in the last 18 months.
The 100 backstroke and the 100 breaststroke. So I'm keen to have 2 swims.
These last kind of 6 months, she's really grown. She's developed as a person, as a swimmer, as an athlete. She now knows that she can do it.
And it's cool to see how I've grown and changed from just a freestyle athlete to being able to do so much more and be so much stronger as an athlete.
Now Jones's coach Hannah and Simon Watkins will be pushing her harder with 72 days until the Commonwealth Games, and there won't be much time to rest.
Then when she gets back, she will have a little break and straight back into training. So I really think we could maybe make the World Champs team next year.
I'm excited to just kind of go down this kind of whole journey with Simon and Hannah, and it's our first kind of big achievement.
Then the next step will be the Paralympics. Gracie Richter, NBN News.
Just like the other one, the entire NRRL of round 4 was also called off. Those were, of course, Evans Head and Lower Clarence, Ballina and Maris Brothers, as well as Northern United and Byron Bay, and also Bellambil and Cudgeon, and also Mawullumbar and Mullumbimby. And finally tonight to the AFL Northwest men's competition, and the Gunnedah Bulldogs were too strong for the Morway Suns, while the Tamworth Swans defeated the New England Nomads, while the match between Inverell and Tamworth was called off and moved to July 30. Now to the women, and of course, Gunnedah had a win over Moree, while Tamworth had a win over the Nomads. And of course, the clash between the Inverell Saints and the Tamworth Kangaroos was moved to July 30 because of the wet weather. For the first time this season, there was no games played in the AFL North Coast, and of course all games were called off as the ground was closed, and those were of course the matches between the Northern Beaches Blues and the Port Macquarie Magpies, the Grafton Tigers and the Lismore Swans, as well as the Coffs Breakers and the Sawtell Tormina Saints. Well, that's about it for now, and don't forget, I'll be back tomorrow, and also for more of us here, good night.